Hi, welcome. So today we're here for another episode of Ask Kaliana. And today's question actually comes from me, because I woke up this morning feeling lost and confused and kind of depressed. So I don't know if you ever have those days, but what I really want to help you do is to know what to do on those days, why it's a good thing, and how to help use those days to take your life in the direction that you really want it to go. So first, let me help you understand why those days are actually good days. The reason is that your soul is actually trying to help shift your life. It's pushing things to the forefront that you don't really like, which is why you feel lost and confused and probably unhappy. Okay? So what's going on is that your value system is changing. Something that you value, some direction that you think is important, that you keep trying to take your life in, your soul is trying to say, not that way. I want you to change directions. And it may be a big change in directions, which is when you feel really, really miserable, or it could be a small change in direction, which is when you feel just kind of miserable. So depending on how upset you are, the bigger upset you have, the bigger change your soul is trying to create in your life. Understand? Okay, so understanding when I say your value system is changing, let me give you an example. So perhaps you feel that money is really important. And I get that in our culture, money really is important. But let's say that because you value it to a certain degree, you're making some choices in your life that aren't really taking you where your soul wants you to go. See, the soul doesn't really care about money. The soul cares about the experience that you're going to have. The soul cares about you being the greatest expression of yourself that you possibly can be. So the soul's not going to care as much about money. It's going to care about the choices that you make that are going to take you ultimately to a place of greater happiness and self-expression. So if the choices that you're making, for instance, you really feel like you have to keep this job or you have to do a certain job, but yet that job is interfering with time with your family, or that job is preventing you from perhaps moving to another town where you really need to be, see, the soul's going to create conflict for you. It's going to create conflict at that job. It's going to create conflict over the money. It's going to create that. And so while you're trying to change that value system, you're going to feel uncomfortable. So you have to look inside and reevaluate what is really important to you. And in that process, you will begin to see the path revealed to you. Okay, so what do you do on a day when you feel in this funk and everything's not quite the way you want it to be? So remember what I said, that we're wanting to take you in the direction you want to go. Your soul's trying to help change your value system. So on the days when you feel a little lost and confused and unsure about what choices you should make choices that take you in the direction you want to go. Do activities that take you in the direction you want to go. For example, you might value your health. And you value your health highly, but maybe you haven't had time to juice, or maybe you haven't had time to make a smoothie, or maybe you haven't had time to walk. So on that day, do that. Do things that take care of your body, because your body is important to you. Another example might be you've been so busy you really haven't had time to spend with your kids. So on that day, when you're not sure what to do and you feel like you don't have direction, take time and spend it with your kids. It doesn't really matter what you do with your kids, just do something with your kids. And you see how the things that are priority in your life, you're now spending more time doing. So if nothing else, you can see how repeatedly making that choice over and over again each day, because let's say that you felt lost and confused for like 6 months. If you've been feeling that way for a while, making these choices that are things that you really value start to take your life in the direction that you want it to go in. So you see how after a period of weeks, days, months, you suddenly end up with a life that's more of the life you were choosing. So right then, you've taken your life in the direction that your soul wants you to go in more. So the second thing that I want you to do on these types of days that really help take your life in the direction you want it to go is I want you to go to the mirror and I want you to look yourself in the eyes and I want you to say, I'm proud of you for the courage that it takes to do a day that's really hard like this. And then repeat it. I'm proud of you for having the courage to do a day that is like this. See, it takes so much strength inside of you to make it through a day when you feel lost or confused or depressed. It takes a lot more from inside of you to make it through those days than it does the good days. So you really want to congratulate yourself. You really want to tell yourself how proud you are of all the extra effort that it takes to do that day. Then you become your best friend. Then you give yourself the support that you're needing, and you help to ignite that spark inside that's helping to guide you by congratulating it for the courage that it's having to do these things to help you create a life you love. So when you're having a hard day, I want you to remember that those days are important. That depression or feeling lost or feeling confused is an important part of rewriting your life, of changing the direction of your life, of changing your value system. Because you're not the person today that you were several years ago. You have changed. Life has changed. Our world has changed. And therefore, you have to change. And a lot of times we don't want to, and we resist, and we would just like it all to work. But that's just how the journey goes. The journey changes and adapts. And in that process, you also have to change and adapt. So your soul is signaling you that it's trying to help you go somewhere better. So enjoy the day, appreciate yourself, make choices of things that you highly value so that you're taking your life where you want it to go. Now, given that we all have these kinds of days, I bet you have some really great tips that you could help me with or help some of these other people with. So go down to the bottom into the comments and please post some ideas that you have, or just talk about some of the challenges that you have when this comes up and what you do to deal with it, so that we can all help each other on this journey create more of a life we love. If you've enjoyed this video, then be sure to go visit my website, Kaliana.com, and there's lots of information there for you. Please make sure while you're there to also subscribe to my emails so that you can get more hits and tips of this kind of stuff if that's what you enjoy.